All right, all right, all right. Greetings and welcome back once again. This is Amuna. I pray everybody's doing well. I am doing well. I'm checking levels and checking times and see when is the best time to go live on these social media apps. So I'm trying to, stay in tune with what I've said I will do. But this morning, getting prepared for Shishi. This is not your typical Bible study lesson. And the reason I say that is because with everything I do, I try to use it to understand. Greetings and welcome, everybody, the world around me. You know what I mean? And so I'm just going to share some of that methodology with you, and hopefully it's beneficial. So when I talk about writing books, right? Kind of like the one that and I'm gonna have to keep plugging it because sometimes people forget. Okay, I talk about writing your own book for your own healing journey, right? This is an autobiographical novel that I wrote, but when we read the Bible, sometimes we have different things that's ascribed to the Bible, right? Historically, religiously, spiritually, you got all these things that people use the Bible for, but we have to remember that it's people having experiences, writing and chronicling those experiences, and then they get passed down and they get shared. And so if we come from that lens, I think there's a lot to be learned there. So in this narrative in 1 Samuel chapter 16, I said when Saul met David, what's going on? Good morning, everyone. What is happening before? I'm going to be continue to what's the word I'm looking for here? Parallel what we are the formula that we're seeing in the Bible with our own healing journey. Because there's some people who out here are Bible scholars. They even claim to know what color David's breeches was, okay? But we don't know about ourselves in the same way. We don't put that same energy into learning about ourselves, learning about our history, learning about our traumas. And because we don't put that same energy into it, we are disconnected from getting from the curses to the blessings, right? So people argue, and I've been around for a minute. People argue and they go back and forth about all things that we could not possibly know. But some of the formulas that has been left on record, we kind of, I don't know. So here I am to share what for many years I've just been like, oh, here we go again. Okay, 1 Samuel. And the most I said unto Samuel, so there's always something happening before. There's always some pretext, right? There's always some lead up. Even if it's not written, there's something that's happening in the story before we get to the part where we come into the conversation. And the most I said unto Samuel, how long will you mourn for Saul? Right away, somebody, me, I'll be like, well, wait a minute. Well, what's going on here? There's some pastors and leaders and ministers and teachers and prophetesses and all of these people who will just jump in here and be like, yes, and get you all emotionally titillated. And then sometimes the cognitive reasoning becomes impaired, and therefore we miss the fullness of the story. So there's something happening before we get to this page. And I'll keep looking here and there, so bear with me. There's something happening before we get to this page. And some people be like, it will take too long. It's just like I was watching some marketing content for TikTok, and they were like, we don't have that long. After 5 seconds, if you don't get to the part, we're clicking out the video. And that is one of the greatest downfalls of technology in this generation, to think that somebody is going to front load and stuff all of this information into 5 seconds or 7 seconds of the video, or you will click off. That means you didn't want it. Because if you wanted it, you were going to take the time to find out what the person is saying. In life, nothing, I want to say nothing. The majority of things that are worth getting, that are worth attaining, that are worth pursuing, it's going to take labor. It's not like all on the surface, like reclining, talking about, here I am. It don't work like that. And that's what it is teaching, this overabundance of this is how you do it, this is how you do it, this is how you do it. It is making the people emotionally and mentally lazy, and thinking that if it's not on the surface, or if you have to wait a bit, then you're gonna throw a tantrum and move on. Well, then you just miss out. Because the people who are disseminating this information, if I'm reading from different things, different doctors, different people, everyday people, it took them time. Nothing really in life works the way we think it is. This microwave society. And let me get back off my tangent. I'm back off the soapbox. Anyway, let's continue. There's something happening before we get to this part in verse 1. Okay. Then you want to say, well, who's Samuel? And who's Saul? This is what I would be saying, okay? And then he goes on to say, seeing that I have rejected him from reigning over Israel, fill your horn with oil and go, and I will send thee to Jesse to a Bethlehemite, for I have provided me a king amongst his sons. This first verse is loaded. Again, what is the context for when David meets Saul? It's not good. It's not good in the hood. Even if he didn't know that David was his replacement, because this is the creator speaking to Samuel about David, energetically, Saul knows something is off. And so if you are really curious to be like, well, who is Saul and what's going on? He is the first king of Israel. But if you understand this whole king concept, then you would understand that the whole concept is left field to begin with, because he was not even supposed to be in this position. It's kind of like somebody who, he did the office of president-elect and wasn't necessarily supposed to be in that position because it wasn't on record and they preempted. That's another story. Y'all act like y'all don't remember that, so I'll continue, okay? So now Samuel is the prophet, and he's over here like, he was lamenting when they first wanted a king. Now he's lamenting that the king, he gets rejected, okay? I think it's interesting because before we came into existence, there's something going on with our mother. There's something going on. I'm always going to tie it to healing. I mean, come on, peoples. We got enough Bible study going on, don't we? There's something connected to your grandparents. There's some energy. Like in Saul's case, Saul went and did some things that he wasn't supposed to do. And as a result, he's losing his positioning. Now, there's some people who may not have known that, I didn't know that this was going on. But because you're in association with that person, then you're going to be dealing with some of the fallout from being in close association with this person. So I'll go to verse 2. And Samuel said, how can I go? If Saul hear it, he's going to delete him. Okay. So Samuel, as the prophet of the Most High, is understanding the temperament. Let me wave at some people. Welcome to the conversation. Share if you're enjoying. I'm just seeing what's the best time to come up on here. You understand? So shout out to everybody who just joined us. Saul is also aware of the temperament. Samuel is aware of the temperament of Saul because he's the one who anointed him. He's the one who would have been interacting and knowing what's going on with Saul as a king. Like Saul as a layman and Saul as a king may have been two different people. It's kind of like your parents as your parents versus your parents before they became your parents. So you kind of want to go to people who would have known these people aforetime, because you're trying to understand, for the purposes of this conversation, what was happening before I came into existence? What's happening before David enters the picture? It's lo tov. It's no bueno. It's no bueno. It's no bueno. So all of the consternation, all of the prayers, all of the pain, all of the things that David is experiencing is because before he comes into this picture, it's no bueno. It's no bueno, people. Greetings and welcome to those who just joined us. All right, now let's continue. And Jesse to the sacrifice. Now let me rewind where I'm at. Oh, my bad. And Samuel said, how can I go? If Saul hear it, he's going to delete him. And the Most High said, take a heifer with you and say, I come to sacrifice to the Most High. So the prophet is the person, the go-between. And he was like, yo, Most High, are you trying to send me on a dummy mission? What is going on here? Right? You're asking me to do something that could possibly cost me my life. And he's like, no, no worries. No worries. Again, there's a lead up, right? And how is this important, or why is this important? Because it happens in all of our lives. This is just not a Bible story. This is a blueprint that we can pray, like I said, pull out to make it something tangible. We wouldn't be reading this lest the scribe scribed it. So when I say scribe for healing and scribe for understanding, or right for understanding, right for progression, this is what I'm talking about. Where are we? And call Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will show thee what you should do, and you shall anoint unto me him whom I name unto you. So he's the Most High is saying to Samuel, don't worry, I got this whole thing. I got this whole thing. There's a lot of people like, oh, Creator, where's my helpmate? Where's my soulmate? Where is my partner? Where's the person that I'm supposed to be with? And then we preempt the situation. Maybe our parents did or our grandparents did. We preempt the situation. So here he's saying, don't worry, I got you. Just do everything I say, and I'm going to take you to the right person. Who else had that type of conversation? Abraham's servant, he had the same type of conversation. Like, yo, I don't know. I need you to send me to the right person because I need a wife for my master. So just get me to the right person. Then I can work it from there. You know what I mean? So again, this is also a lesson in sometimes we ask for things or we want things or we're getting directive, but our feelings and emotions get in the way. Or we're sent to help somebody else, but our biases stop us from delivering the message. It stops us from doing what it is that we need to do. Why? Because we have our own biases. It's kind of like, FedEx, UPS, USPS all deliver packages, and then they all pull up at the same time. But because they have biases, they be like, I'm not delivering at that house. I'm like, wait a minute, you the messenger. You got to go deliver the message. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Anyway, where am I? Welcome to those who just joined us. We are talking about when Saul met David. And again, it's important, like I said, getting the backstory on our own lives. When you met your mate, when you met your best friend, when the circumstances around when you met them are very important because they highlight some of the things that you may have experienced in your relationship that you can't necessarily explain. Okay, so we know it was no bueno. The atmosphere was already no bueno. It was hostile. The prophet knew it. He was concerned. We go into verse 4. And Samuel did that which the Most High spake. He was like, all right, I'm going to do it anyway. You know what I mean? I'm going to do it. But, and came to Bethlehem or Bethlehem or house of bread. And the elders of the town trembled at his coming and said, comest thou peaceably? Like, where do you? You know what I mean? Where come you? Come in a peace? Arawar. Because he's a prophet. We don't know what you're coming to say. Like the mailman, you could be coming to bring me a check or you could be coming to bring me a bill. I don't know. What you bringing? You got a check over there? What's going on? Right? So the elders are like, oh, here he come. And 5. And he said peaceably, I'm come to sacrifice unto the Most High. Sanctify yourselves and come with me to sacrifice. And he sanctified Jesse and his sons and called them to sacrifice. Sanctify, get yourself cleaned up. You know what I mean? Get yourself cleaned up because we about to go do this thing. Again, to say that Samuel is not concerned is another, he's concerned. But again, he's also following instructions, right? Sometimes the things that we are sent to do or we're destined to do, and I'm speaking to myself right now, it's cause for pause. It's cause for concern. You like that door? Like you want me to go there? You know what I mean? You want me to say that? I don't know how I feel about this. But he's doing it afraid. Okay, Samuel is doing it afraid. So just because you may be cold, just because you may be spiritual, doesn't mean that you're not susceptible to real life feelings and emotions. And in this situation, Samuel's a little shook. He's a little shook. Okay, let's continue. And if you wonder where I'm reading from 1 Samuel. Right now we are at 6. And it came to pass when they were come that he looked at Eliab and said, surely the Most High's anointing is before him. But the Most High said unto Samuel, so Samuel now is using his own discernment. It's kind of like, again, I keep going to this mate, I keep going to the job, I keep going to whatever it is. We want to kind of like put ourselves in there. Like, yeah, he look good. Yeah, they look good. Yeah, this is going to be the right one. And we say this is going to be the right one like 30 times. So Samuel now is using his own discernment and saying, he's looking at Eliab and said, surely the Most High's anointing is before him. But the Most High said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance or his height or his stature, because I have refused him. Some of us are results of people who made choices to get together with other people What's going on, Judah? To get together with other people who looked the part. They had the stature, they had the body, they had the job, they had the six figures, they had all of these things. They looked like what it is that we needed, right? This is all of what's on social media to nauseum. Oh, no, I have nothing else to talk about. Father, give us the strength to overcome. Every podcast is shaming, blaming this. I mean, brethren, come on. What's the solution? You offended about everybody else's relationship, but you don't have no relationship. Let me just continue. So anyway, Samuel's out here doing the 6 figures, you know what I mean, 6 streams of income. Samuel is out here talking about, yeah, he looked good. He looked like he's good for the job. And the creator's like, nah, I refuse him. His spirit, for whatever reason, he ain't right. For the most I see, not as a man see, for man look at the outward appearance, but the creator look on the heart. This is a lot of this is not happening today. This is how people are getting in these very precarious situations. Very precarious. Because you look outside, we don't use discernment. We lean on our own understanding. We put together pieces that don't even belong. And then when we get in a battle, as they would say in the Caribbean, now we want to pray. The thing was, we were supposed to pray aforetime before we got in this very tight space. But instead, we lean on our own understanding. That's why I said, lean not on your own understanding. They was like, oh, Amuna, I didn't know you knew how to break down the Bible. Amuna has been studying for many years and watching a lot of antics for many years. And I read to understand and to grow, not to cause more confusion. You know what I mean? So he's like, yo, don't look at the outside. Look at the heart, because looks are deceiving. Beauty is fleeting, isn't it not? 8. Then Jesse called Abinahab, because Jesse had a lot of sons, and made him pass before Samuel. Come, Abinahab, come. The prophet there. What's going on? Welcome to those who just joined us in the conversation. The prophet there, come. Me want to see if you're going to be the one. Okay? And he said, neither have the Most High chosen this. And he's like, nah, bro. Abinahab, not you neither. We're not going for you either. Okay? It's kind of like the story in Cinderella, right? It's like this one, that one, and then David is the one in the back over there cleaning out the sheep pen. I bet. And Jesse made Shammah to pass. And he said, neither hath the Most High chosen him. He's running out of sons at this point. You know what I mean? He's running out of sons at this point. It's the same thing again in our lives. There's all of these different options, but those options may not be the right options for us. And sometimes the rejection that we're feeling, we internalize. I've experienced that, but you don't realize that the Most High is kind of protecting you. Well, not kind of, is protecting you, but because of whatever position that you may already be in. In David's case, I don't want to jump ahead, but his father is not even considering him. He's not even considering him, because he's the runt of the litter. He's the young one, and the father has all of these fine young men, his sons. That's his pride and joy to put to the forefront. And so even imagine, and I thought about this one time, I think about weird things like people being real, right? So imagine David having this experience, not being considered even of his own family. That these people, his older brothers, has more value in some way than he does, right? Because his father is kind of illustrating this. And some people may say, why would David is the baby, why would he bring him out? But he's not even in the lineup, bro. He didn't even come out of his sweats, okay? Again, Jesse made 7 of his sons to pass before David. 7 sons is passing before David. The man have more than 7 sons, but he's like, yes, all I want to line up everybody, he must want one on one, right? And Samuel said unto Jesse, I'm sorry, when I kind of do Bible study, it illustrates in patois. I don't know why, okay? And the Most High have not chosen these. He said, none of these. Me don't want none of them. Now, some people be like, yo, Samuel might be like, why the Most High picky? Me only see 7, and you know what? None of them. So what's going on here? Are we this picky in any of our relationships? Were our parents this cautious in who they were selecting as a mate? He's looking for somebody to rule over the nation. Okay. So this is basically like primary elections. It's when all the candidates come out to see who's now going to run for candidacy, right? So they're doing midterm elections right here to see who's going to be the candidate to be able to rule over the nation. And the creator is like, none of these is going to be the candidate. Where are we? Let me know if you're enjoying this so far, by the way, because I'm doing some beta tests to see what time I'm about to go for my walk in a little bit. What time is the best time to come in? I realize that my brain is more on fleek in the morning, you know what I mean? So that ginkgo kick in. So let me know how you're enjoying it. Is this a good time? Should I do it a little earlier? Let me know. Anywho, where am I? And Samuel said unto Jesse, are here any thy children? Sorry, are here all thy children? And he said, so basically he was like, yo, I like pitney them this. You're not no more pitney. Good morning. He's like, you're not no more children. Just pictures. What's going on? Good morning. Right. Again, we're looking at the snapshot for those who just joined us about basically setting the scene for our lives. We're reading it through the Bible, a book of many things. Okay, in this case, it's a narrative, and narratives have setting, have protagonists, they have antagonists, you have context, you have pretext, you have subtext, you have a whole lot of things that's going on in this picture. And basically what's going on in the life is me making parallels between our own journey, our healing journey, our human journey, and that which we study oftentimes. So the Bible is one of the most popular books, if I'm not mistaken, that year after year sold worldwide, right? There are people who study the Bible more than they study themselves. And I'm saying it doesn't have to be either or. There are people who can give you the genealogy. They can tell you all about David, all about Saul, all about Abraham, all about all of these people who lived very long ago, but they can't tell you about themselves. Can't tell you about their family, can't tell you about their grandparents, can't tell you about what was happening before they were born. Why? Because there's a disconnect somewhere that the people within the text have more value in our minds than we do as we are living in this day and time. And so I'm trying to illustrate this. Hey, Shalom, Tarisha, what's going on? I'm trying to illustrate this in such a way that we can make the connection. There's a lot of people that are not getting the benefits of wisdom that they're learning because they're not applying. They're not making the connection that this was important then and it is important now. The scribes saw it important to write it down because if they didn't write it down, how could I be reading it? Now, I went through the autobiographical. I made mine, again, an autobiographical account, but the value in doing so was allowing me to chronicle some of my experiences and that it helped me along in the healing journey. So basically the purpose of this live is to integrate these two very important things into a streamlined understanding so that we can take as much time as we do. And some people study other books, as much time as we do studying other things, that we can study ourselves and really get an understanding, because know thyself. If you don't know yourself and you know everything about everybody else, you still have a void. So I'm going to continue. Thank you for asking about that. I'm going to continue because the reason I'm reading this particular part before Jesse, when Saul meets David, is because it illustrates, even in the author, the person who was writing on sheepskin, the person who was writing on papyrus, what did they used to call it? What do they call it? The reeds. You know how much it took to write in antiquity? Maybe we should go over that in another day. It's not like here me sitting on my computer typing. You had to have ink. You had to have killed your sheep if you're writing on sheepskin, because how did you get a skin? You had to have access to papyrus. You had to have knowledge of how to write. You couldn't have been illiterate. There was a lot of energy that went into chronicling something. If you put it on stone, you had to be a master etcher. There was no backspace and delete. Imagine you there, right? If y'all gonna learn that. Sometimes I get off track a little bit, but I'm still on track. So imagine it that if you are the one who was over there etching Hammurabi's code, and you're like, backside, me make a mistake. There's no whiteout. There's no backspace button. You have to be very intentional about what you're writing, because what we say and what we write manifests, right? And I'm almost done. Okay, 11. And Samuel said unto Jesse, are here all of your children? And he said, there remaineth yet the youngest. I don't know if he was protecting him because he was the youngest, or if he wasn't considering him because he was the youngest. I make the assumption of the latter because of how David is very emotional in his cry and his pleas. It seems like there was a disconnect somewhere with David. But he says, behold, he keep the sheep. And he said, no man, no worry about it. Man, one little one. But him out there, he ain't that little if he outside wandering around every day in green pastures beside still waters feeding sheep. He ain't that young. He says, and Samuel said unto Jesse, go and go get him for me. Like, send and fetch him, for we will not sit down till he come. So he says, yo, go get him. Go get him for me. Because after the rejection, it coming like the way in which the story is being told, right? It's like, you know how the people in the, this is just my imagination. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, right? It's great knowing the historical, but it applies or relates to us today is so important. Yes, it is absolutely. I think it's paramount. This is why a lot of the churches, pastors, all of these things, people get church hurt because people are preaching this nobility, this understanding of what you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to be, but there's a disconnect. So the pastor's feeling up on the lady in the back when he's doing Bible study, and this person is with that person, and all is going on. It's not just human behavior. It's because there's a disconnect between what we think is holy by just knowing it and actually applying it to ourselves, right? Welcome to those who just joined us. We testing time here. So y'all tell me if this is a good time. What I'm gonna roll up. What time is it? 27 minutes in. And I'm gonna try to keep it under an hour. So he's like, yo, go and go get the son for me. Go and get the one, because that's what I was saying. So it kind of feels to me like Samuel the prophet has a direct line to the creator. You know how they are when they're on the TV show, they got the little thing in the air and the producer speaking. Because how is he getting these messages real time? He's like, nah, not that one there, not that one there. No, not that one there either. He had one more pick me, ask him. And he's like, yo, you got another child? He was like, you know, Jesse might be like, yo, how does dude know all of this? But then again, he's a prophet, right? So he says, and he sent and brought him. Now he was ruddy. Now there's always these, what's going on, everyone? There's always these arguments about what ruddy means. I'm not going down that lane because that lane has been gone down before. So it says it's describing him like it described his older brother. Now it's describing him. Let me know if you guys can hear me. So he says he was ruddy and withal of a beautiful countenance and goodly to look upon. So I'm never too bad looking. I'm never too bad looking, right? And the Most High said, arise and anoint him, for this is he. Now, remember, I'm talking about context. Contextually, there was not supposed to be a king in Israel. Because according to the narrative, the Most High was the king. We cannot forget that. Some people ends up with baby mamas, baby daddies, crazy people in your sphere, because initially that wasn't even supposed to be your portion. Sometimes we forget that. And so whatever offspring, whatever comes as a result of what wasn't supposed to be, is not going to be the perfect solution. But the Most High was looking for somebody who, based on what's going on now, is going to be able to fit the bill. Now, initially, when he went for Saul, you can go back and read what was going on with Saul, why Saul was selected. But now the Most High is like, I'm not going to select based on that only anymore. I'm going to go for the heart. And so now David is selected. There's something going on with David that makes him a great pick. You guys share in the comment section what you think was going on with David that made him a better pick. Okay. I have my assumptions, but I'm going to leave them there. So by this time, we don't even know how long this took. Did this take all day? Like, where it was Samuel stressed? Like, what was going on? You know, he's getting to be an old man by this time. And he, you know, it's like, is it getting the sun is going out? What is happening in the space? Were the brothers complaining? Were they just quietly looking like, so you not get it neither? We have to like think about all these things. Because again, like I said, the energy that's created around the situation and event is going to play out as the story goes on. That also goes for our own personal lives as well. So I say that to say, if your grandparents had a hand in who your mother married, and if that person that your mother married or your mother had a child with, were they accepted by the family? Did that ultimately affect your life? Was your mother's side of the family receptive to you? Or if it's the case, if your mother or your grandparents never wanted your father to marry this woman and he did anyway, or he impregnated anyway, what did it cause as a result of going against the family? This is kind of in the case of David. Everybody is being passed up. And if David is not even in the runnings, how could you imagine they would be like, yes, David, Mr. Godfield, I'm glad the most I pick you. Were they glad that he was actually selected, or is he getting some heat because he wasn't even considered and he got the job? All of these things, family dynamics, play into a person's experience. So before David met Saul, before we were born, before our parents were born, before we moved to a new country or we moved to a new state or moved to a new house, there was something going on that set the tone for whatever experience we had. And this is setting the tone for the experience that David's going to have. So let's continue. Hey, what's going on, Truthful? What's going on, Ron? Where am I there? Okay, here we are. But wait, then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brethren. What did I say? Now, someone who wasn't considered, the underdog, is getting the footstool is getting brought to the front of the class and getting anointed in front of everybody. Something to consider. Sometimes you're the chosen one, the anointed, but the people around you don't consider you. They overlooked you. And now here you are getting the okay from the Creator, getting the anointing oil poured over you in the presence of potentially your enemies. Don't think that they're going to be sitting in the back clapping for you. It doesn't always work that way, right? And the Spirit of the Most High came upon David from that day forward. There's something about you. Something's going on with you. You look different. You give a different energy. You give a different vibe. Just Picture says, it may be that little David was valuable in his father's shepherd business, didn't want to let him go at first. He was more valuable. That also could be the case. It can go either way. It can go either way, that we see somebody else was in the shepherding, which was Rachel. So there may have been culturally, this is where I kind of go off on tangents, but I'm not going to do it today, that culturally, there would be certain people selected to go out and tend the sheep. Because again, your sheep is your finances. But it also, we see also that in the case of Jacob's sons, right? So, but what were the 7 brothers doing if David was the one out there doing the sheep? What were they doing? I know they at one point they're in the army, because we're going to have that conversation later. But there's definitely something to consider, that the family may have seen him as employment and labor, and well, you don't want him, because if he goes, then who's gonna do what we need him to do, right? So Samuel rose and went to Ramah. So Samuel's like, finally, my dear work done. Finally, he got out of there with alive. Okay, remember, he didn't even want to go. He had this long day at work. Imagine Samuel coming back to the temple. It's like, yo, Samuel, how was your day? Be like, yo, don't even ask, man. Samuel had a long day. He had a long day. He didn't want to go to work that day. He had to go to work. The Most High was in his ear. Just as Laban didn't want to let Jacob go. So he was the he didn't want to let him go. He was valuable, but at the same time, he valued him for what he can do for him, not necessarily valuing him as a person, because we see when push comes to shove, Laban was ready to go at him, right? So in many cases, people value you for the labor. It's like you going to your 9 to 5, you going to your job. They may value you for your labor, but as a person, or respecting you as a person, maybe not so much. Maybe not so much, right? So here goes Samuel finished with his long day's work, not wanting to go to the jail because he could even almost lose his life. You feel me? He's going to the hood. He got to go make sacrifices. He got to do an audition, midterm elections. He had to find the right person. Again, I'm paralleling because we don't want to too much get lost in. Bring it back to yourself, bring it back to your family, bring it back to your existence. If you were David in this story, could you sit down and write out all of what we just read or some of what we just read, or any of what we just read for the first 14 verses? Could you have set the stage? If this was an assignment, maybe we should do an assignment and come back, and then you guys press to come on and share. Why not? Why not? You know what I mean? If you want to come on up, let me know. But if we're reading all in David's life, we like that, right? We like the messy drama. Be like, ooh, what happened? Ooh, what? We like other people's drama. But could we set the stage for 14 verses? It didn't go into what color toenail polish people had on. But for 14 verses, can we provide some texture, some depth to our entrance, to what happened when we entered into this narrative called our lives? Can we do that? And if we can't do that, I can help you to begin to get the tools to be able to do that. But let's continue for the sake of time, because I got to take my walk before it gets too hot. All right. Here we are. So Samuel's off for the day. He's done. And it says, But the Spirit of the Most High departed from Saul. So the verse before is the Spirit of the Most High came upon David or David, right? So the Spirit of the Most High came upon David. He's anointed. He gets the anointed oil. He gets the, I dubbed thee. You know what I mean? He gets dubbed. All of his brothers is there. His pop dukes is there. People are seeing like, oh, snap. I can't believe it. David came up. This dude was just out there with the sheep, slinging slingshots. Now this dude is anointed the next king. Boom, Spirit of the Most High come upon it. David is like, yo, he probably don't even know what's going on, because they came and got him. He was out there minding his business, perfecting his shot. Who knows? At that time, the author finds it important to say, at that time, the Spirit came on David and it departed from Saul. It came on him and left him. So we're thinking that this anointing to do this position is just this one anointing. And then, all right, it's kind of like the presidency. All right, bro, get out now. You got to move out. You got to vacate the premises. You got to go. Ron said, I bet it's summer down there in Florida. I'm sorry that you guys are having this it's nice to take a walk. I'm sorry that you guys in 30. That is crazy. 30 degrees. That's crazy. Welcome to the conversation. We are on. So one gets the Spirit, one moves into the Oval Office spiritually, and the other one gets kicked out, right? He doesn't get kicked out. What do they do? He got, what do they do when they're going to fire the president? Oh gosh, y'all tell me in the comment section below. Y'all know how sometimes my mind be slipping. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I don't want to get distracted. Okay. So but the Spirit of the Most High departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Most High troubled him. So some people be like, what in the world? Shalom, welcome to the conversation. Is the Creator over here sending evil spirits on people? Okay, we're going to pause right here. When you get into a certain energetic space and you lower your vibration through sin and disobedience, then you open the door for lower vibrational entities, evil spirits, to attach onto you. They do so through certain emotions like anger, ego, false pride, sexual immorality, all of the things that this world has trying to get people in this space. Impeachment, thank you. Thank you, Ronald. Impeachment. They try to get you into this space, or you may be deluded and you find yourself into this space. And when you do so, energetically, you have opened yourself up to being troubled by evil spirits. So this is not far from. This is something that is even happening in today's space and time. And somebody may go off and be like, well, would the creator send evil spirits? All of these things, good and evil, all exist at the same time. Blessing and curse, everything comes from one source. So there's not one without the other. So in this case, because his anointing left him and he was under a certain covenantal contract and he's violating at this point, he's getting replaced. He got impeached. Saul had to go, right? And David is now in that space, and now Saul is spiritually exposed. He's no longer immune to certain things because of his behavior and his action. It put him in this very vulnerable situation. Again, this is important because some of our parents were in these situations. Some of our grandparents were in these situations. Some of our family or our soul family were in these situations. And when we enter in, even though the Spirit of the Most High will be protecting you, it doesn't mean that you won't be affected. In the same way, Saul's issues still affected David. Even though David was protected to a certain degree, it still had an effect on him. So when people say they're breaking generational curses and you're the generational curse breaker, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be affected. It may not take you out, but you're still going to be affected, right? So now homeboy got an evil spirit on him. What in the world, Saul? Was it worth it, Saul? Was it worth it? Let me see how many verses I got. All right, I'm almost there. Let us know. Give us some feedback. How you enjoying this impromptu Solonomics biblical study? And my for those who just joined us, I would love, my goal is for us to see the humanity in the people within the text that we're reading, also seeing our humanity, seeing the value of narrating their stories, seeing the value of narrating your stories, see the value of connecting the dots, see the value of connecting the dots in your own family so that you can deal with what is specifically your issue. This is specifically David's issue. This is specifically David's issue. This is specifically the conversation that's going on with them. They have very different issues. It's God who puts kings on their throne. The Most High anoints the leader and he wants to lead his people. God chooses any group of people he chooses. That's what the story we're reading. That's kind of what the illustration of the story is, that the creator is the one who made the choice, right? But ultimately, before we got to this point, the same Samuel who didn't want to go, he's the one who understood that the creator was the governing body over this particular nation, and that a man king, a physical flesh and blood man king, was not the ideal. It was not the original thought. It was something that the people introduced. And therefore, the Most High allowed the people with his permissive will. He allowed the people, and then he gave them parameters by which to work within. Right, let's continue. And so Saul is all jacked up. You know what I mean? He's on demon time right now. Okay, something is bothering him. He can't rest at night. He over here scrolling. He don't know what to do with himself. 16, let our Lord now command thy servants which are before thee to seek out a man who is a cunning player on a harp, and it shall come to pass. So somebody who's observing him like, bro, you need some help, fam. You know what I mean? If you let me know, you know what I mean? I'll get somebody who can help you. Now, music has power, as we know in this story, and some people have gone over it before. The power of music, the power of music to rile you up, the power of music to calm you down. And so the ancients, our ancient ancestors, were very aware of this power. Because why would he suggest such a thing? He could have easily said, go buy some bush tea and drink some tea and then calm down. He was like, no. Just give me the word and I'm going to go out and find somebody. And it shall come to pass when the evil spirit from God is upon you, that he shall play with his hand and thou shalt be well. Right now we're seeing someone who aforetime was held in high esteem, Kanye West. Oh, yay. He's like, you call me Kanye, right? And then we see that something is troubling him. And everybody could see like, yo, something is not right. right? People may think that he needs medication or he needs blah, blah, blah. My point is that this is very public, what is happening to someone who was in the public purview. So it is with Saul, because listen to what it says. It says, when the evil spirit from the Most High is upon you. So his servants knew that. And Saul's servants said unto him, behold, now an evil spirit from the Most High troubles you. So Saul's servants, the people within the spot, knew something was up. David is not there right now. They hired David to come into a situation that was problematic. I don't know if in that interview to be the harpist, they was like, yo, David, oh man, I didn't even play my little background music. It's okay. Were they like, yo, David, I heard you, you play instruments well. I'm glad you came for this audition. I just want to let you know, the king has an evil spirit. So pay it no mind. I don't know that they communicated this to them. It's something like you go on certain jobs. They're not telling you why all the people are quitting. They're not telling you what's the real tea. You get on the job and you find out the hard way. So again, what is happening before, like even in certain situations where somebody may have been a violator, somebody has a history of anger, a history of sexual abuse, a history of exploitation. Some people don't know that before they get into relationships with them. Some of our parents did not understand. This is why in older spaces, if somebody wanted to be with a family, the younger person would have to go to the elders and tell them what family you want to be in. Oh, who are you interested in? And whether it be on the male side or the female side, those people who would have understand what was going on in the community, they would be like, nah, that family is not good because they have a history of mental illness. So no matter how much you love that person, they understood that these two families were coming together. Therefore, you can't get with them because they have a history of mental illness, or they have a history of dwarfism, or there's an evil spirit that troubles them. Whatever the case may be, there's no background. Now, how many situations have we got into because we did not do our due diligence, because we did not have enough background? And how long did it plague us in our lives because we didn't do these steps? And the same thing, they called for David. The servants know. It's not like it's a secret. It's the quiet part. The servants know, because the servants said in 15, and Saul's servant said unto him, behold, now an evil spirit from the Most High trouble you. So the servants knew, and these same servants is like, yo, I got an idea. How about we go find somebody who know how to play that music? And it says, and it shall come to pass when the evil spirit from the Most High is upon you. So the servant had it all figured out, that he shall play with his hand and you shall be well. Servant had it all figured out. No worry. We know how this is going to go down. 17. And Saul said unto his servants, provide me now a man that can play well and bring him to me. And Saul's like, you know what? I have come up with an awesome idea. Provide me someone who can play. Like, Saul, that's what we just said. But the servant, okay, king, no problem. I'm going to come to the comment section in a second. I will come. Shout out to you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let us know. Share. Oh, like, share, touch the screen on the, what's this here? On the Instagram, like, share, so that we can get this information further. One of the things that I've done in the past is give and give and give, but the reach that it's supposed to have, the prank videos seem to outreach it. So I need the help of the people who find the value in this, so that it will encourage me to continue to share. So, so that we can all continue to have these type of enlightening conversations. So if you want a different take on certain things, different take on life, different take on the Bible, where we can incorporate, learn, and grow and move forward, I adjure you. Share the life. Share the life. Where are we here? All right, 18. Now Saul busts in like it was all his idea, no problem. Then answered one of the servants and said, behold, I have seen a son of Jesse the Bethlehemite that is cunning. You never know who's watching you. You never know who's paying attention. You never know who jotted you down, who tagged your picture, who put a star, and I see value in this person. I don't know how that's going to work out yet, but I see value. So they shaved your page. right? This is why it's important to share what the Most High has put on your heart in truth and in authenticity, because the servant, the same one with the idea, the servant again had to have knowledge that playing this instrument is going to help you, Saul. He also had to be able to acknowledge that you got an evil spirit. But you notice when he told Saul he had an evil spirit, Saul wasn't like lies, allegations. Saul was aware that he was trouble, because he could have easily been like, nah, bro, what you talking about? You the one with the evil spirit. So anyway, the servant who has all the answers, he was like, yo, no problem. I got somebody. And a mighty valiant man. So he's like, yo, he played the instrument. He valiant and a man of war. But at this time, it's interesting that he's saying all of this because just a few verses before, David was in the field. So how did the servant know all of this if David had not yet did anything? These are one of the some would say hiccups, but I'm going to continue. And prudent in matters and a comely person, and the Most High is with him. Now, if we think that the storyline from this could have been the will of the Most High, by the way, that this servant is going to say what he's saying. It's kind of like that when they remember Joseph, right? But what was I going to say? To think that it only stayed between the 7 brothers and Jesse when David got anointed, I don't know, because people talk. People talk. So this servant seems like he knows something, okay, about what just went down. So he's literally bringing the replacement to him. It's like literally bringing the wife, the new person to the old person and not realizing that's replacement. It's like literally training your replacement at the job. Like the job knows they're going to replace you. You don't know they're going to replace you. And then you are tasked to train them, okay? So that's all what's going on. For those who just joined us, welcome to the conversation. We are winding down, but it's all good. You could catch it on the replay. You understand? So wherefore Saul sent messengers unto Jesse and said, send me David thy son, which is with thy sheep. This is why I said somebody heard it to the grapevine. They knew that David was to be they knew David was the next up. He got next. David had next. Because this servant sounds like a double agent. The servant's like, bro, you got an evil spirit. I ain't going to front. I'm not going to hold you. You need some music. And I know the perfect dude. And he brings the replacement right into the yard. Now, David, again, does he know that he's going into an ant's nest? Did we know what condition we were born in? Did we come into an ant's nest? Were we well received? Was there love? Was there fighting? Was there contention? Was there anticipation? All of these things go into the spirit of the child, which is you, which is me, that enters the earth. This is why you can have 4 brothers, 7 brothers and sisters, and each one of them have a different spirit. Because when you come into the play, when you entered into this life, you came on different terms. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so they were like, yo, go get your boy David and tell him to come through. 20. And Jesse took a donkey, ass laden with bread and a bottle of wine and a kid and sent them by David, his son, unto Saul. So Jesse is aware of where they're sending him. Like, yo, come, David. Go and go bed, put on your new tunic. You get a new job. So, yeah, you in the field. But guess what, David? We get a new job for you. No, I need you to take these things to the king. He's going to the king. Okay, 21. And David came to Saul and stood before him. So David is like, you called me. He's young. He got a new job in the palace. You know what I mean? He got all this stuff his pop sent him with. And he was like, And he loved him greatly. And he became his armor bearer. So Saul could have been, remember, and Saul is significantly older than David is. He would have been like a father because David ends up marrying Saul's daughter. So Saul has to be the age thereabouts of David's father, Jesse. So now he was like, yo, you know something, I like you, David. I like you. He's a cool youth. Oh, sorry, I just kicked the thing on the floor. He's like, yo, come in, David. He's a cool youth. I like you. You know what you can do? You can hold my armor. It's like, but bro, I thought I was here to play harps. He's like, this is above my pay grade. But he now he becomes armor bearer. We're on 22 and then 23, and then we're gonna wrap it up, and we're gonna continue when Jesse met David. Now when Saul met David at another time. So, and Saul sent to Jesse, saying, let David, I pray thee, stand before me, for he hath favor in my sight. That's interesting, because didn't you already send for him? So why now are you asking permission when you already sent for him? I guess it's to make it official, like he offered him the job, and now that he's officially getting the job, he needs parental consent. I'm not sure. 23. And it came to pass when the evil spirit, so not long after David get this job, he understand why there was a vacancy. And it came to pass when the evil spirit from God was upon Saul, that David took an harp and played with his hand. So Saul was refreshed and was well, and the evil spirit departed from him. Imagine that first moment. Imagine that first time that this happens. He's like, yo, this is a cool jail. I like living over here. I got my own spot, my own room. The boss is cool. Everything is best. Next thing you know, he over there holding his armor. And all of a sudden, this evil spirit pop on the dude. Whoa, 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 whoa. You all right? I got to get a better chair, y'all. Y'all got to see with me. So David seemingly knew exactly what to do. He was like, whoop, whoop, let me. It's like, do you feel better now? So Saul was refreshed and he was well, and the evil spirit departed from him. And that's what we read there. And I know it's like, where did Amuna see all of that stuff in the text? Chapter 16, 1 Samuel. I saw all of that in the text. And you can see all of that in the text. And it's all about how we frame our thoughts. Why are we reading what we're reading? Do we connect with it in a real way? Do we believe that the same power who can guide Samuel to the right person is the same power that can guide us in the right path? Because the creator doesn't change. He's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. So is the creator the same one? And if he is in our minds, that means that the same way he was able to navigate these murky waters, right, to choose the one that he wanted for the job is the same thing that he can do for us. The same way that the scribe took the time to narrate the story in such a way that it gives us all of this, it broadens the scope a little bit. If I would have read it real fast, we would have been like, huh? But it broadens the scope to show us that there's something going on before we got here. Welcome to those who just joined us. I'm going to go ahead and what time now? 10:33. All right, we got 57 seconds. So there's something that was going on before we got here. If you can, talk to the people who know, because we weren't here. Okay? Talk to the parents, talk to the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles, the neighbors, just so you can get an understanding. Because some spirits that are on us, it's not just evil spirits. Some spirits that are on us came from the gate. It came from maybe your mother wasn't sure that she should have you. Maybe your mother got pregnant by the other dude that she didn't really want to marry. Maybe your father was already married and he snuck off and you are the outside child. Maybe, what is your birth story? Maybe your parents, they couldn't manage because they were too young and they left you to be raised by your grandparents and you didn't really. All of these things are individual to us as people. Even if your parents were there, maybe you were the third child after two children in a row and all of you are 1 year apart and your mother was stressed out and your father was unemployed. Who knows? I don't know, because I wasn't there. You were there, but you don't remember. So in order to move and facilitate this healing journey, you have to go back to a certain degree to these spaces to understand, okay, what could have been in that birth water? Because we do know whatever the mother is feeling while she's carrying for those 9 months is a direct line, chemically, hormonally, energetically, spiritually. This is why in the vow of the Nazarite, there's certain things you can and cannot do, because Torah is letting you know that energetically, physically, emotionally, spiritually, there's a direct line from the mother to that fetus. And science tells you that. I keep looking at Instagram. Let me look over some YouTube. And science tells you that. So this is not your average because we need to think, we need to apply our thoughts and our cognitive reasonings and deductive, all of those things for us to be able to give this to the next generation. First, get it for ourselves and then give it to the next generation. So I'll leave you with that. Do you know the beginnings? Right? In the beginning, my mama was 12. Some people's mothers had them when they were 12, 15, 40. Or each person that's born to a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 40-year-old, off the bat, you're going to have different thoughts. Not to mention where your father is mentally in his mind. Is he in lust? Is he in conscious creation? Did he love the woman? Did he violate the woman? All of these things go into the making of who we are as a person with this soul in this incarnation. And I think it's absolutely important. And you see this in the New Testament, that it's trying to give you all of these contextual background for the entrance of, because they understand that, hey, the stage has to be set. All of us are actors in this realm. We incarnate and then we act out the role as who we are. They give us a name, they give us a script, they give us parents, background, location, nemesises. You know what I mean? Let me drink some water. Let me know your thoughts. I'm going to read the comments and then I'm going to boogie. I'm going to boogie peoples. Anybody have anything to share before we roll? That's the thing, man. I be going live and the people be quiet. Y'all there or y'all might be doing some other stuff. I'm gonna give you that. You might be doing some other stuff. Like I said, I have to see when is the best time. When is the best time for me? When is the best time for thee? You know what I mean? I got to see when is the best time. I'm trying to want to do one of these at least once or twice a week. And then I'll do short videos in between. You know, how much can you talk about gossip? Welcome to those who just joined us. How much can you talk about, oh gosh, it is to nauseum. It's ad nauseum, darling. It's like, come on. Is there anything else you want to talk about in the world? Oh. Anyway, all right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe, share this video, and hit your notification button so that when I go live again and have part 2 of when Saul met David, we could continue this discussion and learn and hopefully grow. So with that said, everybody have a blessed day. See, my phone is ringing right at the appropriate time. My apologies. No calling, doing live streams. All right. All right, one.